Who got 5 hours of sleep? Who got 3 hours of sleep? Okay, we got a lot of tired people. I'm not gonna be one of those speakers that gets you all fired up and starts yelling at you. That's not me. I know who I am. But for you guys that don't know me, I see a lot of familiar faces here. So it's good to see you. And for the people that don't know me, I used to be a former Lincoln student. I graduated from Lincoln in 2011. If you go down to that hallway where the pictures are, you'll see a guy with a ponytail because I thought I was trying to be like those coolies who had the Guyanese flag and the Guyanese belt and everything. I thought I was nice, but yeah, it was horrible. But I used to go to Lincoln. I moved to Malton in 2003. Went to Ridgewood Public School. Anyone from Ridgewood? All right. I went to Morningstar Middle School. Anyone from Morningstar? Everyone else is Darcel? Wow, okay. I don't like you guys right now, I'm joking. Went to Morningstar Middle School, and then I came here, I believe 2007. But for those who do know me, who knows where the MCC is? Malton Community Center, right across the street, right? Usually where the fights happen after school. So for the past 2 years, I was the youth engagement coordinator. Long story short, I was the youth worker. So I grew up in Malton. I went to Lincoln. Does anyone know what a valedictorian is? The person at grad who speaks on behalf. I was the valedictorian. There's a horrible, horrible YouTube video that I have under private right now because every time I watch it, I cringe. I don't like how it look. I made horrible jokes. Maybe I'll make it public so you guys can see my process. But I was valedictorian, got all these scholarships, didn't study for no tests, would actually hang out in this library, get kicked out a few times, skipped class because Mr. Ramnarayan never really noticed. Yeah, he was here for 2011. I would skip class to go see a girl here. Mr. Ramnarayan, I wouldn't come till 5 minutes before the class. I would spit my little 1-2 and Mr. Ramnarayan would mark me present. So I was finessing the system, got 85% on all my stuff, got the Queen Elizabeth Scholarship, got accepted to University of Toronto for criminology and political science. Then from there, I graduated because I wanted to become a cop. I did security, realized I don't want to be like those people on 6Buzz and make people's lives a living hell. Then I realized that maybe I should get into government, so I applied to the Malton Community Center. I started at the front desk there. Then a little bit after, I started becoming the youth worker. And then from there, I'm like, government paychecks are nice. You're making $60,000 plus. That's what I want to do. I want to show people that I made it out of Malton. So I went to York University for 2 years. I just graduated with my master's in public policy administration and law. And I'm like, all right, so I'm this youth worker now. I have my master's, but I have no idea what I want to do. And I say that because I was following this lifestyle of going here and doing this, and people are like, you're this community guy, you're this youth worker, you're this educated person, you have to show people that people can make it out of Malton, people can go up in government, but I was doing it all for the wrong reasons. And now that I'm grown up and time is ticking, I started thinking what do I really want to do? What do I really want to do with my life? And the crazy thing is, ever since we're kids, what do people say? What do you want to be when you grow up? You watch cartoons and it's what was the typical stuff you guys wanted to be when you grow up? Who wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a nurse or a teacher or, a basketball player? These are all good things. I'm not talking negative about them. But from a very young age, we're told, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you have all this pressure and anxiety. I'm 2 years old. And I'm eating cheese strings and I'm playing Lego. I don't want to know what I want to be when I grow up. I'm just trying to be a kid right now, right? And you feel that pressure because people are trying to force us into a template and trying to tell us you have to be this. You need to know where you're gonna be. You need to know what you're doing. But like I said, I'm 2 years old. And the tough reality is $25,000 later and 7 years and 2 degrees, I just started to figure out what I wanted to do. I just started to figure out who I was starting to be. And the reason I say that to you guys is you might be like, he's educated. He works for government. He did this, he did that. But I wasted a lot of time because I was living out a story that was other people's story. I was living out what other people wanted me to be. I was living out what I thought I should be instead of what I should have really been doing. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that maybe my whole life I've been trying to figure out what I wanted to do instead of who I wanted to be. I'm gonna say that again. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do instead of who I wanted to be. Working in government, like I told you, I was finessing the system, getting 85 on my essays, not studying. I pride myself on being able to adapt to different situations. Like I can walk in a room with the director of recreation for Mississauga, being this guy from Malton, and I can spit a little 1-2 terms here to make myself seem smart. But really what I was doing is I was overcompensating and covering up for a deficiency of not being intelligible in that area because I wanted to fit in. I wanted to make people think that I was educated. I was part of that group. I was part of that clique. And all of this brought me to one big fact about my life. I actually didn't know who I was because I've become what people wanted. I've become what people rate as successful. I've put my identity in my positions and my titles, but I had no idea what makes me me. So when you guys hear the word identity, what do you guys think about? Like what's the first word that comes to your mind, or like first phrase? Anyone? Identity. Does anyone know what you want to go? Tajay, you want to go? What do you think of when you hear the word identity?
Your image.
Your image? Okay, what else? Spit whatever. Your information. Okay, what else is identity based? Your name, yeah.
It's like how you feel.
How you feel? Yeah. Who you are, I like that. And that's what I'm gonna be focusing on today, because the definition of identity, I don't have it on me, I was looking it up earlier, but it's basically characteristics or something that makes you unique or different. Like, if you're putting your identity in, I'm this youth worker, how many other, Matthew's a common name, there could be hundreds of youth workers around the world that are named Matthew, but does that really make me different, right? And I believe there's three key things I had to learn about my identity, about who I am, before I could actually start living that out. And my first point is, your identity isn't formed by what you do, but rather your identity informs what you do. I'm gonna say that again. Your identity isn't formed by what you do, your identity informs what you do. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're this ball player and you wanna go league, and you play at the MCC and you're nice. And you're like, I'm going to ROPSA and I want a championship. I'm like, okay, I could play ball. People are telling me I'm this baller. And then I go to Humber College, I get accepted, and I don't make the cut. Because everyone's been telling me, like, you're this basketball player, you're this athlete, this is my identity. But what happens when you don't make the team? What happens when you're dating that person for 4 years and you're like, I'm gonna wife her, I'm gonna, this. What happens when that person leaves you and breaks you up? If your identity is in positions and titles and other people, what happens when those things leave you? Who are you? And I had to learn that for myself, because I was putting my identity in, I'm this educated person, I'm this community guy, I'm this youth worker, I'm this, I'm this bearded guy. Everyone says the bearded guy from MCC. Like, my identity was in all these characteristics. But the thing is, do these things really make us who we are? And we try to categorize, I think the issue is we try to categorize what success looks like. Like, when you think of the word success in a job field, what jobs do you think about? Doctor, what else? Lawyer. Architect. No one's thinking about, no one said artist, no one said photographer, no one said entrepreneur, no one said, a grocery store owner, right? Maybe you did. I don't want to say that you didn't say that, but oftentimes we categorize what we think success looks like, right? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive to go get a job to make good money. What I'm saying is, what happens if you lose that job? What happens if you go to study for a doctor and you don't make the exam? Who are you? Like, for me, when I was trying to ask this question to myself and answer it, who I am is this person who's gonna speak into people's lives and use my story just to speak into their process. And I live with a sense of urgency, like, maybe if one person heard my story, and maybe if one person heard my struggle, maybe it would change their perspective. Like I was saying today, I'm like, if none of you guys rate me, if none of you guys hear what I say, and I get it, like, you guys get speakers all the time. You've been in school from what, 8 a.m., 8:30 to 3 p.m. You're tired of probably hearing a lot of being taught at and stuff like that. So if only one person hears something from me today, I did my job. Don't get me wrong, bills have to get paid, but one thing about knowing who you are and knowing your purpose is that when you're getting paid and you know what your purpose and your passion is, it makes it 1,000 times more better and more enjoyable and more fun, all right? So my next point is stop identifying with your pain or your past and start identifying with your purpose. So what do I mean by that? I seen a quote this week that said, as long as you make an identity for yourself out of your pain, you can never be free from it. Maybe you've become so used to being comfortable with your pain that it's become who you are. Like you can't see yourself as a successful person. You can't see yourself as a courageous and a strong person because your pain in your life has been so overwhelming and you're just drowning in it that you've realized you've got used to it. You've got comfortable. Like when they say Matthew, I think of hurt. When they say Matthew, I think of, a parent who had an addiction. When I say Matthew, like I think of a guy who never made the AAA baseball team. Like I start identifying with the bad things that happen in my life. And another thing is when you identify with your pain, you realize that you could be a good finesser. Like they prey on people's emotions, and I'm not saying that they didn't have it hard, but it's like when you're a homeless person. Like I saw this one time that a homeless person went into like a garbage can, grabbed receipts for an item, said that the item was broken, returned it, and got money for a product that they didn't even do. It's like when you've become so institutionalized by your hurt or your pain, you start learning how you can start getting your way. And I hear this quote all the time. Who's heard fake it till you make it? I have an issue with that because as of lately, I used to fake it until I make it. Like my graduation speech, I didn't even nominate myself. My friends put my name in the box, didn't even tell me. So then I had to go to the grad breakfast and act like I was, this, and I won. But I was faking it till I make it. I had no idea what I was doing. But lately I've changed my opinion from not faking it till you make it, but facing it until you make it. Because you see, the thing is with faking it, you're not addressing the pain, the past, the issues. You're going around it. You're trying to find the shortcut to dealing with it. Instead of facing it till you make it, that means you're gonna have to go straight through the pain. That means you're gonna have to embrace it. That means you're gonna have to take some time to sit down and be like, that actually hurt me. Like, how did that affect my psyche? How did that affect my opinion of other people? And am I saying that what you go through is soft? Not at all. But I believe at some point we all go through life trauma, and some worse than others. But I realize we have two choices. I can keep identifying with my pain, and I could keep drowning in my pain, or I can change my perspective to see that maybe I can use my pain as the stepping stone for my purpose. That maybe my pain was for no reason, but I can use it to speak into the lives of people. When I speak into youth's lives as a youth worker, my greatest ability to connect with them is my tragedy, is my pain. It's not in the success degrees that I have. It's not in becoming valedictorian. It's, you know what, like, I had anger issues when I was younger. My mom cheesed me one time and I took a laptop and I smashed it on the ground. I punched a hole in the wall. My boy came over and my mom was paging me about my ex and how I have issues with that. And then he got a little bit upset because, he's really adamant about having a mom in his life. My boy's Jamaican, right? And he never had a mom in his life, so my mom has become his mom. And I started yelling up at her and going into her face, and he pushed me and we had this big fight in my house and I broke glass and all of these things. But I realized that I could just wallow in that, or I could say, you know what? Life dealt me a bad card, but how can I use this to inspire someone? How can I use this to actually pour back into people's life instead of just being like, you know what? I'm that guy who had an alcoholic parent. My parents had a miscarriage before me, and I wasn't even supposed to be born, And sometimes we start letting those thoughts start seeping into our mind, and it can take us to some bad places. You see, a lot of people will come up to me and they'll be like, you don't know what I'm going through. You were never where I was. You didn't get G-checked when you went into the Ave buildings and some guy pulled out a gun on you. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. And you know what? You're right. I never had a gun pulled on me. I've never been in a fight where someone's being stabbed. I've never gotten a girl pregnant or done all of these things. But you know what? It doesn't mean that my pain wasn't valid. And that's what I think you guys need to understand is just because you haven't had that hood glorified lifestyle, it doesn't mean that, you know what, that parent leaving you at 3 years old wasn't valid. Or, it doesn't mean that, because, you have this learning disability that you couldn't get into the program, like that's still valid. Like, don't think that pain should be on this pedestal and glorified. And a lot of times you're seeing people at their 10-year come up, but you're not seeing them at year 1. Like you'll see me now and you'll be like, oh, you're this good person, whatever. But you didn't see what I went through before. You didn't see that I was in a 4-year relationship with this girl and I thought I was gonna marry this girl, and then 2 months later we broke up and then she got married in 2 months. Like you don't see that, right? Yeah. I bought this girl an iPad for Christmas. $700 because I was making nice security money, right? $700. And I give it to her and she's like, babe, this was nice, but I wanted the iPad Pro. Right? You don't see that all the time, right? But it sucks, but it's still pain, right? It's still hurt, right? And a lot of what stopped me was my relationships, because I was putting my identity in who I was. And that good morning text like, babe, I'm proud of you. You're doing good things. I love you. But then when she finally left, I went through 2 years of depression, and I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything because I put all of my hope in who I was in that person, right? It's all about perspective. Like, okay, I went through that, and I can feel sorry for myself, but what can I start doing to use that to speak into someone else's life, right? My last point, I promise it's my last point, and then you guys are good. I heard this quote. Actually, I don't know if I told you. Does anyone know what a podcast is? Yeah. Does anyone know my podcast? Okay, a podcast, you ever seen on the iTunes app on your phone? It's like the audio where people connected to their car and they're listening to it's like a radio show essentially, right? But it's on the internet. So I run a podcast called Real Community Talks. If you guys want to open up your phone and check it later, you probably, yeah. I'm not that big, but I mean, yeah.
Is it on Google Play as well?
It's on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Android. It's on YouTube too. So I don't just do the audio, but I actually take a video. You guys know The Breakfast Club? Yeah. So that's how I do my show. I sit down with people who are in the community and have real, the term real talks, right? I have real talks with community people, because when you're having a big issue in your life, do you go to Kim Kardashian or do you go to your mom? Your mom. Oh, if you're going to Kim Kardashian, that sucks. But no, you're going to your mom, you're going to your aunt, you're going to your teacher, right? So what I realized is there's people in this community of Malton, because who always hears that Malton, nothing good comes out of Malton, right? Malton's a hood, nothing, this, right? All right, don't keep saying that. Okay. But what happens when you tell people you're from Malton? They automatically say, oh, you're from Malton? You go to Lincoln? Jeez, it's like when someone says they're from Chinguacousy and Brampton, right? Or they're from this place, right? But there's this negative stigma attached to being from Malton, right? So I said when I was 15, the Mississauga News published an article that said, Malton, Mississauga's wasteland. And I got cheese. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know about the good people and the good teachers in the school. You don't know about the youth workers at the community center. You don't know about the people at Malton Neighborhood Services. You don't know about how we're a close community, and when you go to Walmart, you see everyone that you basically see on a daily basis. Like, we're a close community. Yeah, we have isolated incidents. Like, we're not the only place that have gun shootings and all that kind of stuff. We have isolated incidents, right? So I said, I want to help change this negative stigma that Malton is a bad place, and I want people to understand that there's good that comes out of Malton. Like, there's, what was that, Paul Coffey guy? He's an NHL player. People don't know about that. Or like, I even see on your wall over here, like a bunch of people who came out of this area who are actually good, right? But I started this show because I said, like, your teachers are doing great things here. And I have to take a moment to honor them, because as a youth worker, I'm not a teacher, but as a youth worker, I know that they take your issues with them home. That sometimes it's hard to distress because they're thinking about trying to help you. And they're trying to, like my mom, she works in that office. If anyone knows Miss De Silva, she works in that office right there. My mom will come down to the basement when she comes home, and she just needs to debrief. She's just like, I don't know how to help this kid. Like, she starts weeping and crying. Like, I know your teachers have a heart for you. That it's not like they're just doing this because of a paycheck, but because they actually care about your growth. So why I started this podcast is I was like, anyone know Jonathan or Chris from M&S? Yeah, like those guys are doing great things, but they're not public on their IG. They're not on their story going like, look what I'm doing. I'm helping this kid load his Presto card. Or they don't have CP24 or 6 Buzz following them, right? But they're doing great things. So that's why I started this platform. If you guys want to check it out later, Jonathan's actually my first episode. But I take people who are regular, ordinary people, and I put them on a platform to highlight what they're doing. Because I know your teachers don't do it for the praise, but you know what? They need it sometimes. They need that to hear that encouragement that they're doing a good job. Like, how often do you guys go to your teachers and be like, I rate what you're doing. Like, I thank you that you've spoken into my life. Like, you know, you're a good person. Encourage them, because sometimes it can get really dry and repetitive. I know as a youth worker that like I would be doing the same thing over and over again. Matthew, help me apply for a resume. Matthew, help me get a job. Matthew, help me get volunteer hours. And you can get in this cycle, but you know, encourage them. And that was a way big tangent, but the long story short is a guest who was on my podcast, he said when you're learning about what you want to do in your life, you have it wrong. He said instead of looking for a career, find a problem in the world that you want to solve and find what career helps you solve that problem. Like, have you guys ever thought what problem in this world you were created to solve? What issue in the world that you're unique enough to solve? And I'm not saying you have to solve like a nuclear issue or anything, but like what skill sets about you do you have that you can speak into someone's life or you can make change? Like, what keeps you up at night? This feeling of like people talking bad about Malton, and you know, I would have youth come up to me and they'd be like, I want to kill myself. Like, I don't want to live anymore. And it's like, what do you say in that moment? But sometimes it was just me listening and saying a little 1-2 thing that spoke into their lives. And I was sitting down there and I'm like, imagine if, you know, 9 out of 10 youth who feel like they're suicidal, and one of them comes up to me in person, but those other 8 youth, they're scared because they don't actually want to come talk to me because they feel like they can't trust me. They feel like, you know, they don't want people to associate themselves with depression. But imagine if they went on YouTube or they went on Instagram at the comfort of their home and they heard one sentence from my podcast and it changed their whole perspective. Like, that's what kept me up at night. I said, I hate when people judge kids for being on social media. Like, I do believe social media is good and bad, but instead of judging kids, why don't I come onto this space, onto this online space, and have a positive footprint? Like, you go on social media, what do you see? You see female Instagram models and you see fights, right? But what if someone comes up and they start preaching a positive message to help people? And that's what I said. Maybe none of you guys will ever come and talk to me. Maybe none of you guys will ever feel comfortable enough to go talk to your teacher. But how many people have a phone here, right? How many people have access to YouTube or Instagram or internet, right? Maybe you'll go do that, and that's what kept me up at night. So what keeps you up at night? And I came to this place as a youth worker that it wasn't just the job that I was doing and the money that I was making. Even though I got paid to play basketball and play PS4 with youth, like that was one of the best jobs I ever did. But it was because I found a platform to be who I was created to be who I knew that I was, and serve people's needs and that I was created to serve. I have to be honest, you guys heard that I was valedictorian, right? Yeah. I spoke in front of hundreds of people, but I have to be honest, I was more nervous to come for this talk to you guys today than to talk to all those parents, because I know you guys are smart. You guys will see through my BS, right? Like, you guys don't want just someone speaking some colorful words like, who is this guy? You guys will see straight through me. But I had a lot of issues because I'm like, I don't know what to say, maybe they won't rate me, all this kind of stuff like that. But I realized, you know what? I'm not gonna go watch E the hip hop preacher. I'm not gonna go watch Gary Vee. I'm not gonna go watch all these people for inspiration, because those people are telling their personal story. And you know what? Maybe the best thing I have to offer you guys is my personal story. Like, maybe I can't be this person, but I know I could be Matthew De Silva. Like, maybe I can't be Gary Vee, but I'm Matthew De Silva. I know who I am and I know who I'm gonna be. And I had to step back and say, what's the most powerful tool in my arsenal? It's my life. It's my pain. It's my mistakes. It's the lessons I've learned, because how often do you guys mess with someone who's actually done life? Who do you listen to? Someone who talks a lot of words, or someone who's actually lived that experience? Someone who's lived that experience, right? So I said, I may not have, like I said, been G-checked, or I may not gone to these places, but I've lived life, right? And I had to realize that the most powerful thing I could do was be me. And in prepping for this talk, like, I always feel like I should never come up and tell you guys something that I've never lived out my life. Like, I shouldn't go to U of T and preach History 101, because I'm not a history professor. But in prepping for this talk, I had to realize I needed to know who I was. That was the first point. I needed to come to a place where I would use my past as my purpose, and I realized that my purpose is to use my voice to encourage others and to speak into their lives. So now I ask you in the coming weeks, I'm not saying right away like, all right, you should know who you are, you should know what your identity is, but I want you guys to start thinking these 3 questions. So what was the first one? Who am I and who do I want to become? What was the second one? What part of my past can I use as my purpose? And the last one? Close, but what problem in the world do you want to solve? So, like I said, who am I and who I want to become? How can I use my past as my purpose? And what problem in the world do I want to solve? And it's okay if you haven't figured that out. Guys, I'm 26 years old, and I've just started to figuring it out. I'm not saying that you need to know what that career is. I'm not saying that you need to know what your identity is, but you need to start thinking differently. Like I would hope that your perspective is shifted a bit or changed, that you would stop idolizing the career, that you would stop idolizing the position, that you would stop idolizing the money in the category, and you start thinking about, what am I passionate about? What is my purpose on this life? And I know those are big questions, but if you don't sit down to think about them, you're gonna apply to a university just for a program to go be with your friends. You're gonna apply to a college just for ball and not like, what do you wanna do academically? Like, you're gonna go to this job just because it's paying well, but then you come home at the end of the day and you say, I hate my job, right? Like I always use this illustration. When you guys put your own key in your own door, right? And you're sitting down, and I know how it is sometimes with like the culture, like your parents want you to become a doctor because they know it's gonna make a lot of money. But when you're sitting down at 40 years old, you put your own key in your door. Do you wanna be happy with the choice you made? Or do you wanna be miserable because your parents told you have to be a doctor? I'm not saying disrespect your parents. I'm not saying disrespect the people who are speaking into your lives. But you have to be happy with the decision you made. You have to be okay with that decision you made. So what I'm saying is, take some time to think about it. Take some time to plan. Be intentional about it. And if you focus on the type of person you want to be and figure out who you are, I really believe that all things will fall into place at the right time the way they should. Because when you figure out who you want to be, finding whatever career or job will be a lot more easier. Thank you guys. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that you didn't get? Anything you want to ask me? How do you let go of the past? Like I was talking about before, you have to go through it. You have to embrace it, right? Like if you just keep hiding it and if you keep ignoring it, you're not dealing with it, right? And part of the thing is, you know what isolation is? Being by yourself, right? The bad thing about being by yourself is you can let your thoughts get to you and start clouding, your judgment. But sometimes isolation helps us to start focusing on us, right? And not like I said, if you're making 6 figures a year and you love what you're doing, power to you. But like I graduated in October that passed. I got offered 3 jobs without even applying to them. One was for like 70 grand a year. Another one was like 50, whatever. Anyways, getting offered like really good money. But it's not that I didn't want the money. It's just I knew that I wouldn't be happy doing that. When he was talking about like choosing a program intentionally, guys, I was paying $25,000 in student loan after realizing I didn't want to do that program. If you have to take your time, I have a friend who's on my podcast. He took a year off and now he's a chiropractic doctor and he loves what he's doing, right? But he took his time to think about it. And when you were talking about value, you're mentioning value. I'm not trying to say drop your friends or drop people, but when you get to university, like you put all of your worth and your value and you sacrifice your reputation for 10 friends who are not going to be in your life 10 years later. It's what, 2011 I graduated? I have maybe contact with 1 or 2 people who I went to Lincoln with, right? And when you keep skipping class and when you keep not doing your work and doing all these kind of stuff, you're doing it what? To go chill at what? Where? Western Mall or the back of the CC or whatever? At the end of the day, those people aren't going to be paying your bills. At the end of the day, they're not going to be putting the key in your door. At the end of the day, when you're like crying and depressed, they're not going to be there for you because they're living a certain lifestyle. So you got to put your worth in something beyond just those people. Sorry.